What if I told you that the better your grammar gets, the more invisible you become?
It sounds totally backwards.
Right.
So,
I mean, think about that for a second. You spend months, maybe even years, like memorizing vocabulary. You perfect your syntax.
you got the flashcards down.
Exactly. And then you finally step into this bustling coffee shop in a foreign country and you order your medium oat milk latte with absolute flawless precision.
The total triumph.
Yeah. But then the barista hands you your receipt and says, "So how is your day going?" And your brain just flatlines.
Oh, complete panic.
Right. The flawless grammar just evaporates. You're standing there, suddenly terrified of a basic human interaction, so you just blurt out, "Good, thanks," and run away.
I mean, it really is the ultimate paradox of learning to communicate.
Yeah.
You acquire all these technical tools to be understood, but
But the execution is terrifying.
exactly. The moment the interaction deviates from a predictable transaction into, an actual human connection, the cognitive load becomes way too heavy. The structural system you built just crashes.
Which brings us to the mission of our deep dive today. We're looking at some really fascinating transcripts and notes from an English learning channel. And they use a highly specific lens, which is coffee culture, to explore the mechanics of language.
But, we're not here to talk about verb tenses today.
No, not at all. We are exploring the psychology behind what they call the quest for a realistic human voice.
Right, which is this idea that true fluency isn't actually about linguistic perfection.
Yeah, it's about the terrifying process of shedding your rehearsed, safe textbook answers so you can just be a flawed, genuine person out in public.
And, well, setting the stage for this requires a pretty fundamental shift in how we view language acquisition to begin with.
Right.
There's this brilliant distinction made right out of the gate in the source material. Knowing the vocabulary words for coffee, like the roasts, the cup sizes, the milks, that's essentially just memorizing a list of ingredients.
Yeah, it's just raw data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But understanding the culture surrounding that coffee, that is tasting the dish.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot develop a realistic human voice if you only ever recite ingredients.
Oh, that makes so much sense. You have to understand the emotional environment where these words are actually being spoken.
Yeah, you really do.
So let's unpack this environment, because in English-speaking culture, coffee is rarely just a roasted bean water beverage.
No, it's definitely not.
It functions almost entirely as a social code word.
It's an invitation, really. When someone says, let's grab a coffee, the primary objective is almost never hydration.
Or even caffeine, honestly.
Right. It is a culturally sanctioned excuse to spend time together.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to connect, just disguised as a beverage order.
It's funny because when I hear people say things like, "Oh, I can't function without my morning coffee," I usually just roll my eyes and think, okay, we get it, you're tired.
Yeah.
But looking through this material, I'm realizing that's actually a deeply vulnerable admission. They aren't stating a medical fact about their central nervous system.
No, they're saying mornings are overwhelming for me.
Exactly. They're saying, I need a moment of predictable comfort before I can face the relentless demands of the world.
Precisely. And think about the phrase coffee break in a corporate environment.
Oh, yeah.
It signifies this required, culturally accepted human pause in the middle of a totally machine-like workday. I mean, we map so much of our human experience onto these hot drinks.
We really do.
Even the idiom, not my cup of tea, is literally using a beverage metaphor to describe the nuances of human compatibility.
That's so true. And there's this great observational study mentioned in the notes about the daily rhythm inside a single coffee shop.
Oh, the two worlds thing.
Yeah. It points out that the space actually contains two entirely different sociological worlds, depending on the position of the sun.
Right, so the morning crowd comes in with fast steps, looking at their phones, ordering a large Americano to go. For them, the coffee is pure fuel.
Fuel to survive the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But watch the afternoon crowd in that exact same room. The tempo drops. People sit down.
They actually linger.
Yeah, they speak softly. They laugh. For the afternoon crowd, the coffee is friendship.
It's the exact same physical space, dispensing the exact same liquid, but the cultural meaning has completely inverted.
It really is fascinating.
So if we start treating the coffee shop less like a dining establishment and more like, I don't know, an anthropology field site,
I like that.
yeah, then the beverage is just the entry ticket to be human together. And small talk, then, is the vehicle we use to navigate that space.
Which is exactly where the realistic human voice vanishes for so many people.
Right, because the transaction part, like ordering the drink, is easy, it's a script. But then you have that agonizing 2-minute window while the barista steams the milk.
Oh, that silence.
Yeah, that silence feels incredibly dangerous to a language learner.
Because silence demands improvisation. When you are operating in a second language, or frankly, even if you're just a naturally introverted person operating in your native language,
Oh, for sure.
silence feels like a spotlight, exposing your lack of fluency or social grace. But culturally, in this specific environment, that silence isn't a void waiting to expose you.
It's an invitation.
Yes, it's an invitation.
And the secret to surviving that 2-minute window is realizing that, like, 90% of coffee shop small talk follows an incredibly simple, predictable pattern.
It really does.
You essentially only have 3 options. You talk about the weather, you talk about the coffee itself, or you ask how their day is going. That is the entire menu of small talk.
Which brings up a major cultural disconnect that the source highlights.
How so?
Well, in many cultures globally, talking to a stranger about the weather is considered aggressively pointless.
Right, like it's superficial.
Exactly. Those cultures often dictate that if you are going to break the silence with a stranger, it needs to be substantive.
It needs a real purpose.
Right. But here, small talk isn't empty talk. It's what we might call human talk.
Okay, I have to challenge this a bit. Because if our whole goal today is finding a realistic human voice, doesn't defaulting to standard observations about the temperature just make you sound like a walking cliche?
It seems like it would, yeah.
I mean, how do you avoid sounding completely robotic if you're just standing there saying, sure is raining out there?
That is the exact trap the logical brain falls into. We think the value of a sentence is based on the new information it provides.
Right, data transfer.
Yes, but small talk is not about data transfer. Think of it like the handshake protocol of an old dial-up modem.
Oh man, that screeching sound.
Exactly. When those modems made that awful screeching sound at each other, they weren't sending files yet. They were just pinging each other to establish a secure connection. I am here. Are you here?
Oh, wow. I love that analogy. So saying it's freezing outside is really just the human equivalent of a modem ping.
Exactly. The goal of stating that it's raining is not to provide an original meteorological update to the barista.
They have a window, they know it's raining.
Right. The goal is warmth. It's a bridge. It is a way of saying, hey, I see you, you exist, we are sharing this physical space in this moment together.
So the originality of the statement is entirely irrelevant.
Completely irrelevant. The acknowledgement of a shared reality is everything.
But wait, what if I actually don't want to connect?
Right.
Like, what if I really am just in a massive rush and I don't want to ping the barista's modem? Is there a danger in just ignoring the protocol?
There is, actually.
Yeah.
Because ignoring the protocol sends a message of its own.
What does it say?
It communicates that you view the baristas strictly as a vending machine. By opting out of the basic human ping, you are enforcing a hierarchy. You are taking the realistic human voice away from them.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So the realistic human voice isn't about being the most entertaining or profound person in the room.
No, not at all.
It's simply about being present. But, knowing that logically is very different from executing it under pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
And there is an incredible anecdote in our sources that perfectly illustrates the absolute danger of relying on what they call the safe voice.
Yeah, this is a really powerful story. It involves a storyteller who moved to a new city, completely isolated, didn't know a soul.
Right.
So she became a creature of habit. She went to the exact same coffee shop every single morning for months, ordering the exact same thing. A medium latte, oat milk, extra hot.
And every single day, the barista, who is naturally warm and chatty, would hand her the cup and ask, hey, how's it going?
And every single day, for months, the storyteller gave the exact same two-word reflex answer.
Good, thanks.
Good, thanks. Let's look at the psychology of good, thanks. Why do we do this?
It's because it's easy.
Well, she desperately wanted to connect. She wanted to make friends. But human beings have this deep-seated fear of social rejection.
Especially in a new place.
Exactly. And when we are unsure of our footing, whether due to a language barrier or social anxiety, our brain triggers a protective mechanism. It defaults to the script that carries the absolute lowest risk of a mistake.
It's ego protection.
Precisely.
If you stick to perfect rehearsed grammar, no one can judge you. You can't say something weird or grammatically incorrect if you only say, good, thanks.
Right. It's flawlessly safe.
But the tragic irony is that her pursuit of safety effectively acted like an invisibility cloak. By trying to protect herself from making a mistake, she accidentally erased her entire personality from the room.
Yeah, she actually described herself as a robot with a smile. She was physically present and completely safe from judgment, But
she felt profoundly lonely.
so lonely, because if you only ever play it safe, you are fundamentally unknowable. A flawless script is just a wall.
So how did she finally take the cloak off? Because it wasn't that she suddenly memorized better vocabulary.
No, not at all.
It was because, one morning, she was simply too exhausted to hold the wall up. She walked in, the barista asked, "Hey, how's it going?" And instead of the safe reflex, she used her actual, realistic human voice.
She just told the truth.
Yeah. She said, "Honestly, I'm a little tired today, but this coffee is the only thing keeping me going."
Notice the shift in the mechanics there. She broke the script. The moment she admitted she was tired and struggling, she gave the barista permission to drop the customer service script as well.
Right.
Connection requires two real people, and you cannot be real if you are pretending to be perfect.
And the result was instantaneous. The barista immediately dropped the facade, laughed, and said she had been there since 5 in the morning and was already on her 3rd cup.
Wow.
Yeah. In one exchange, the storyteller went from completely invisible to entirely visible.
And what is crucial to understand here is that it wasn't advanced vocabulary that created this connection. It was vulnerability.
Right.
The ultimate barrier to fluency isn't the lack of words. It is the illusion that perfection is required to speak. True fluency is having the courage to be flawed out loud.
That is a terrifying thought, actually.
It really is.
Because it means the only way out is through. You can't study your way out of the invisibility cloak. You have to actively choose to take it off. So how do we practically brew that realistic human voice on purpose, rather than just, waiting for a day when we are too exhausted to hide?
Well, the framework suggested here is built around a concept they call your coffee tells your story.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's an exercise in moving from the abstract to the deeply personal.
Right, because if I use my flat, dead, safe voice, I might say, "I like coffee."
Grammatically perfect.
But totally void of personality. It tells you nothing about me other than the fact that I consume a popular liquid.
Right. But a realistic human voice takes that same concept and uses it to offer a window into your actual life. Instead of, "I like coffee," the realistic voice sounds like, "I always have my first coffee standing by the kitchen window. It is the only quiet moment in my whole day."
There is this remarkable case study in our materials about a listener named Lucia from Spain who went through this exact transformation.
Oh, Lucia's story is great.
Yeah, she'd been studying English for 3 years. She had all the syntax down perfectly, but she described her own English as correct but empty.
Correct, but empty. That is the exact symptom of the invisibility cloak. You have put in years of labor to build a high-performance vehicle, but you refuse to sit in the driver's seat.
There's structure, but absolutely no spirit.
Exactly.
So Lucia completely overhauled her approach. She stopped practicing random hypothetical textbook sentences about, asking for directions to the library.
Nobody actually needs those anyway.
Right. Instead, she started narrating her actual mundane morning routine to herself. She talked about drinking from her favorite chipped blue mug that her sister gave her.
That's so specific.
It is. And she talked about the mornings she tried drinking coffee without sugar, lasted exactly 3 sips because it was horribly bitter, and immediately gave up.
And by doing that, she shifted from practicing a language to inhabiting it. Her English suddenly contained her humor, her preferences, her minor daily failures.
She came alive.
Yeah. And this is where the linguistic tools really come in. To achieve this, you actually need a different set of vocabulary. You don't need business jargon. You need words that evoke emotional resonance.
The notes highlight a few specific words that are highly effective for this. Words like culture, ritual, regulars, catch-up, and cozy.
Great words.
Yeah, but what strikes me isn't just the definitions of these words, it's how using them changes the psychological dynamic of the speaker.
Exactly. Let's look at how they function. If Lucia describes her morning coffee as a habit, it sounds clinical.
Right, it sounds like brushing her teeth.
But if she describes it as a ritual, she is elevating a mundane action into something with personal meaning. A ritual implies claiming a quiet moment before the world gets loud.
Oh, I love that. Or take the word cozy. If I say, "This cafe is good," I'm just giving it a Yelp review.
Right, rating.
But if I say, "This cafe is cozy," I am inviting the listener into a shared sensory experience. I'm signaling warmth, soft lighting, comfort. I am shifting my persona from a critic to a human being seeking comfort.
And when you start using words like regulars or catch up,
Mm-hmm.
you're actively signaling a desire for history and belonging. Being a regular means you have transitioned from a transactional customer to a recognized part of a community's fabric. And to say we need to catch up implies a shared past and a desire to close the distance that time has created between you. These words act as emotional anchors.
This brings us to what I think is honestly the most profound insight in this entire deep dive.
Okay, play it on me.
Integrating these resonant words and choosing to tell stories about chipped blue mugs and 3 sips of bad coffee, it isn't actually a language learning hack.
What is it then?
It is an exercise in self-worth.
Oh, wow. How do you mean?
Well, when you practice your realistic human voice by describing your daily routine, you are fighting against the internal voice that says you are boring.
Right.
You are essentially proving to yourself that your small, quiet moments like listening to the water boil on the stove are actually interesting enough to share with another human being.
That is a brilliant synthesis. The barrier to genuine connection is so often the belief that our everyday reality isn't worthy of being spoken about. We think we need a grand, dramatic story or incredibly witty banter to justify taking up space in a conversation. We think we need to be entertaining, to be loved, or at least to be accepted by the barista.
Yes, we think small talk requires a performance.
But true fluency is recognizing that you don't need a performance. You just need the courage to be seen as a regular person standing in a kitchen with a chipped mug. That is the realistic human voice.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's distill what this actually means for you, the listener, as you navigate the world tomorrow morning.
Great idea.
We've discovered that the ultimate goal of communication is honesty, not perfection. We've seen that the environment of a coffee shop and the seemingly pointless small talk that happens inside it is actually a complex social handshake.
It's a way to ping the people around us and acknowledge our shared reality.
Exactly. And most importantly, we've analyzed the trap of the safe voice. We've seen how relying on robotic, rehearsed answers might protect your ego from making a mistake, but it ultimately acts as an invisibility cloak.
Yeah, ensuring that no one can ever genuinely know you.
So whether you are a regular ordering a complex iced vanilla latte, or you are strictly a tea person who just appreciates the cozy atmosphere of a cafe, the mandate is the same. Be a person, not a transaction.
Right.
Use your words to say, I am here and I am real. The next time you find yourself in a space with strangers, whether you are speaking your very first language or practicing your fifth, remember the immense power of dropping the script and offering just one honest, vulnerable sentence.
I want to leave you with a final thought to sit with today. We have spent this entire time analyzing how language learners hide behind safe robotic phrases like good thanks when they are terrified of navigating a foreign tongue.
Right.
But I want you to turn that lens inward onto your own native language. Think about the people in your own community, your own neighborhood, your own office. How many times a day do you use a pre-programmed script to hide your true, realistic human voice from the people who already speak your language?
That's a great question.
How often do you throw on that invisibility cloak just because it is easier than being vulnerable?
And what might happen tomorrow morning when someone asks how you are if you decided to finally break your own script?